So for the warm-up for day 3, we're asked to find and label the period, midline, and amplitude for the following 4 graphs. So for number 1, looking at the period, you're looking for the distance between the x values where the function's pattern starts all over. So a quick way to do it, or a more straightforward way to do it, would be to find the distance between 2 minimums or 2 maximums. So for number 1, to find the period, I found the distance between these 2 maximums. So it would be 1 minus negative 3, subtracting the x values of those maximums, and I would get a period of 4. Then for the midline, I'm looking for the horizontal line that is halfway between the minimum and the maximum. So if I look at this minimum and maximum identified in the graph in purple, the midline would be the horizontal line that goes directly through the middle of those 2. So the midline in this case would actually be the line y equals negative 3. If I draw the line y equals negative 3, you can see that that is exactly in the middle of where the maximums and minimums of this function occur. Then for the amplitude is the distance between the midline and a minimum or maximum. So I'd pick a minimum or maximum and then just find the vertical distance between that and the midline. So if you look on the graph, if I pick this maximum here in red and find the vertical distance between that and the midline, I would get an amplitude of 2. Then for number 2, similar process. For the period, I would pick 2 minimums in this case and find the horizontal distance between them. So if I subtract their x coordinates, I would get 4 minus negative 2, which would give me a period of 6. Then for the midline, I'm looking for the horizontal line that goes directly through the middle of those 2 minimums and maximums. So pick a maximum, pick a minimum, see how far they are apart. In this case, they are 6 apart from negative 5 to 1, which means the midline would be 3 down from the maximum or 3 up from the minimum, which would be at the horizontal line y equals negative 2. For the amplitude, I'd be looking for the vertical distance from a maximum or minimum to the midline, which in this case, I picked a minimum and the midline. The vertical distance or the amplitude of this graph would be 3. Then for number 3, looking at finding the period, I'd pick a minimum or maximum. In this case, I picked 2 minimums and found the horizontal distance between them, and I got a period of 5. You can see that I kind of sketched over the graph there for that period. And then for the midline, pick a minimum and maximum, and in this case they are 4 apart vertically, so the midline would be exactly in the middle of that, which would put me at the horizontal line y equals 3. You do want to make sure you're labeling your midline as a line, so y equals since it's horizontal. And then for the amplitude, find the vertical distance between a maximum and the midline in this case, and the vertical distance there, or the amplitude, would be 2. And then for number 4, the tricky part about number 4 is the minimums and maximums. If you look real close, they actually occur between integer x values, meaning in this case, the maximum I picked occurs at the x value 3.5, and the other x value I picked, or maximum, occurs at x value 13.5. So if I subtract them, I get a period of 10, but you do want to make sure that you're picking the value kind of directly in the middle there, so I'd get a period of 10. Then for the midline, the vertical distance between the max and min is 8, from 0 to 8, so the midline should be halfway between there, which would be at the horizontal line y equals 4, and then the amplitude would be the vertical distance between a maximum or minimum and the midline, which in this case you can see I picked a minimum and the midline in red there, and the amplitude of this would be 4.